chest included with Twitch Prime. Rated T for teen.
Welcome back to the HGC as we get ready for our third match here between Tricked Esports and the Playing Ducks. And you know what, Keldor? I'm a little sad, man. Yesterday, Wolf Joe sounded a little defeated. They're ready to go to the Crucible already, but man, they're looking good right now.
They are looking very good, but they might have started a bit too late into a phase to actually get their wins in, and that might become a problem. Even if they win against Tricked, they're still not out of the Crucible spot just yet, because they have to either hope for Tricked, the Zealots, or Team Liquid to lose some of their upcoming games, or they have to actually take down Fnatic, which seems to be like a tall order. So there's still some work to do, but we're also not quite there yet. It's a 2-0 lead for the Ducks. They look fantastic so far, but they haven't taken Tricked down.
Deep within the realm.
Regardless, the constant here is they have to get another win. Let's go ahead and go to game number 3, see which battleground we will be playing on. And as always, Cloaking coming in to say some words. And it's good. Cursed Hollow is going to be picked up by Tricked Esports. The Playing Ducks will be getting first pick.
I mean, Cloaking is pretty excited these days. There's so many cool trailers where he can do the voiceover, you know, so yeah. We need a Cloaking announcer for the game.
Oh yeah, one day.
Yeah.
Just something that says like, "Heroes be ready." That's his voice. That's his voice in my head.
I still think that, like, we need a duo announcer of the two of us. You're going in for the Care Bear, and I'm going to be the Drill Sergeant.
Yeah, you die, but the death screen, it looks pretty. Someone animated that. That's perfect. That's so good.
And at the same, and then the next time it's going to be just randomized, and I'm just going to yell at people why the hell they died and why they are feeding.
You know you're feeding, right? There is a report button. All right.
That's perfect. On the one hand, they're being completely, like, Drill Sergeant, and then Tim comes in every single time you feel like crying. Then the system says like, all right, that was enough, Calder. There's a little bit of Trixler for you.
The yin and the yang, man. It'd be perfect. I could definitely write it on the lines.
Right.
All right, so moving into Cursed Hollow, things you have to consider, Abathur, Globals, etc., especially when you're looking at Tricked Esports. They have been willing to run that Abathur. Arthas also won the run here, but there is always control tactics too, because when you're thinking about playing Ducks, they love their double boss plays. They love that Vala Hungering Arrow, and so far, Tricked Esports has tried to take that out of the equation by taking away the Vala, but they might not be so lucky this time.
Also, let's keep in mind that today Leoric has a 100% win ratio with 2-0, so yesterday we were talking about Leoric having a bit of a weak showing on certain maps, but as we explained, to at least our understanding, that was also because the teams that played him in those situations didn't really quite understand how to use his new role yet, or at least didn't in the games where they played it. Today it has been very different. So the Ducks here with a 2-0, twice they've run Leoric, twice it worked for them. Also Sport Billy still continuing to impress on that front line. And let's not forget also Chris on the Chromie on Dragonshire. That was pretty impressive, the amount of skill shots that he was able to hit.
Deadly accurate. Just laser beams hitting constantly with those sandblasts. So part of it's because he had a really great front line setting himself up, but still, part of it too is just Chris being that good on the hero. Hope to see more coming our way, as we might get more of those chromies from Chris. ETC and Abathur have been banned out.
Yeah, so with ETC being banned, the question remains if we're going to see an early pick on Dehaka, for example. But then again, we come back to the same problem that we explained earlier. If you go to Dehaka, you make your play for global, but you miss out on a chance to take Leoric, since right now it's really the thought process about you don't go to bruisers. You're not playing Dehaka and Leoric. If so, you have to add another main tank, and then all of a sudden you talk about a triple frontline, the solo damage dealer and the solo healer. And so far, we haven't really seen that. That's not where the meta is shifting. So it would surprise me if we end up in that situation. But that might be one explanation why Dehaka is not an insta-lock here for either of these two teams. So it's still the question, what do we actually take here? Tricked reacts with Nuburak and Greymane, so already indicating some aggressive play here on their side.
Looking to dive. Forcing fights right away, having Cocoon for the Uther. Could put the Playing Ducks in a spot where they move into double support.
We should have Genji being picked up now. At this point, when you play Uther over Rega and ETC is not available anymore, then I would say Genji is more or less inevitable. And that would be a good take for the Ducks as well. So I would really like to see Genji taken here.
Yeah, Nande has shown him already that he can play that hero. So the Genji and the Uther. Who else would you move into right afterwards?
I mean, Tricked, for example, one of the reasons why Uther was being picked early is not only because they have now the chance to play Genji, but with you banning Abathur, you take Uther so that your opponent doesn't take both. If they have picked anything else, then Tricked can play Genji and also Uther, and then you are talking again about Market being absolutely fantastic on the hero. So you try to avoid that, but now you need some follow-up. Oh, with Tacita on the other hand, Okay, going into the double support, they can change that, and they go into Vala.
They leave out the Genji, but they get Chris on his girl. They also have the support to back him up. The Tassadar and Uther. Genji and Uther pretty good together, but for the Flying Ducks, this looks pretty.
Tassadar completely slipped my attention. Normally we have him banned so much right now that it didn't even enter my mind at this moment. So yes, if you stand with Uther as a solo healer, then I think you have to go into Genji here. But if you drop the second and heal in the second support and you have Tassadar available, then with them highlighting Vala this heavily as they did in the past, whenever they could, that makes sense. So far Vala was taken away from them. Now they have the opportunity to go for her. And in this case, we have Vala with the double support. Now the ban on Dehaka and counter ban on Gul'dan, highlight or targeting Crosby here. For me, the Ducks, if they get the chance, are heading into Leoric again. Only question for me is Trick gonna pick him away? But they don't, at least not for now. So Nuburak is on the only frontliner. We have Li Ming taken and Rhaegar, but I would say the Ducks at this point are gonna head into Leoric again. And then the question is, who's going to be the last tank for them? We could see Johanna, but then we talk again about Sport Billy and what kind of heroes does he really enjoy here? I mean, they could even play Stitches, for example, with this setup.
Especially against the Anubrak. That was something that started to pop up a lot when it was Anubrak and Stitches were our main tanks. Whenever you had the Anubrak burrow away from a fight because he was getting low enough, the Stitches brings him right back in. It's a very telegraphed linear escape that you're able to hit that hook on. But again, it is Sport Billy, and he has played, what, 6 different warriors so far in the last couple of days?
Yeah, so he's been pretty much on point, and he's also branching through several types of warriors. Garrosh, for example, demands a very different playstyle than, let's say, ETC or Johanna. So it was pretty cool to see him excel on all of these, especially with his positioning in particular. So I wouldn't mind to just branch that out even more. Oh, no Leoric taken. Instead, we are actually seeing Garrosh again and Sonya. Okay, now last pick for Tricked. We're looking for Alex, most likely. Arthas is still up. But they go for the roaming Zul, trying to find their hail in wave clear and also kills. So on Cursed Hollow, we actually don't see Leoric for the first time in this series.
Trick Esport, do you think they're a bit squishy here? They have lockdown, they have pretty decent engage, and they have a lot of burst. But if they misstep, there's a lot of CC there for the Playing Ducks and a Garrosh that can throw anyone into his team.
Yeah, I mean, they have Rhaegar for a quick Ancestral if someone is thrown if he's fast enough. But what you said, I think what you said just hits the nail on the head. They have a lot of blow-up potential here. If they go in with a Bone Prison and they get a combo from Li Ming and maybe even a Cursed Bullet or go for the throw, depending on how they're trying to run this here, they can get a lot with their setup. So I actually kind of like what they have. It's very aggressive. If they fall behind, it's going to be tougher for them to come back into it. But if they start to gain some momentum and they are the ones who establish the presence on the map and are the ones who start to hunt heroes, move from lane to lane and try to get their kills and set them up with either a Nuburak or Zul, I feel they can do a lot here. So it's an aggressive setup that they have for sure. But it's also one that can definitely find kills here.
Yeah, if they can find the Vala or the Tassadar, that's how they crumble this composition and make sure it falls apart. And they can turn their attention to Sonya after that. But from there, the Vala also has a really good front line between Uther, Sonya, and Garrosh. It's going to be difficult to find those kills. But Trick Esports believe this is the composition to get them into the match. Remember, they are down 2-0 to the Playing Ducks and are on the verge of being 3-0'd. Let's go to Cursed Hollow and see how this is going to unfold in this best-of-5 series. Let's go ahead and pop in.
Game number 3 in the series. The Ducks are in the lead with a 2-0, and we have them starting to the left with Wolf Joe on Uther, Nanda on Tassadar. We're seeing this time Sport Billy again on Garrosh as he played in the last game. Chris finally back on Vala, his probably favorite hero here. And Eternal for the first time on a non-Leoric hero. He's not going to ghost around in the back line. He is playing Sonya in this game.
On the right side in the red, Crosby will be playing Li Ming, Make on Greymane, Nape playing Rhaegar, Rimmer on Anubrak, and Alex Aproji not playing a spooky skeleton, instead playing a spooky gaunt guy is going to be playing Zul here.
Yeah, this is also going to be... the cool thing here for the Ducks is really... We talked about that situation a little bit and how risky or how difficult it is for them to move out of those Crucible spots. But if they even 3-0 Trick, that would be so fantastic for their map standing as well. Because after we talk about...
Check bottom left real quick. Hang on here.
Oh, backdooring. Oh, cool. That's actually the old school Vikings play.
That's cute. Al goes in and clears out the wave, seeing that there's a couple people top, is able to stop the push from coming in, which nullifies the Uther and Vala push on the bottom.
Yeah, so that is definitely an interesting move. Normally, okay, so what they're actually doing with this right now, so, okay. Oftentimes you see that with Vikings, and the thought process behind it is that if you have one Viking clearing the back lane and backdooring the waves, you normally do that with Balog, then your opponent is going to sit in a situation where they either have to move back and deal with that, or they need to somehow just accept it. The problem is that if you don't have continuous waves coming in, you will have your own wall being pressured in pretty heavily. I'm not quite sure if it helped Trick too much. What they opened up is they could leave Zul, or they could have Zul rotate into the mid lane. So they didn't have to see him immediately down at the bottom of the map, but they didn't really get anything out of the rotation. So the thought process was really to try and open up an opportunity in the mid lane before he then moves back down. They didn't really get a kill, but it was definitely something that the Ducks didn't expect. The problem is if you don't play the Vikings and you do it with Zul, you can't just camp back there. You have to move out of it eventually.
Yeah, with the Vikings, you would have one hero soaking and one hero on the other side clearing it out. So just not really panning out the way Zul wanted to. I think if there was a different hero besides Garrosh in the middle lane, that could have been a kill. The Zul coming in, dropping down the Bone Prison, forcing a fight, just didn't pan out the way they were looking for it. This didn't pan out the way Alex was looking for it either, as he gets thrown over the wall. The fort focuses him down, should be able to escape as he goes straight to the death screen, and that's his escape route.
Exactly, that's one way to get out of it. He couldn't move to the top, he knew that there was a rotation coming in. I actually, coming back to that backdoor, I like backdooring waves quite a bit. If you have another hero on that lane, it's even more effective because you have one hero. That's one of the reasons why the Vikings are so fantastic with it. But if you have a second hero that can push on the lane, it's pretty good because your opponent will have to move out of the lane. It's typically something that you are trying to do if you run a solo lane somewhere. If, for example, there is a solo lane matchup between two heroes and a third hero on one of the teams is backdooring the solo lane wave, then your solo laner is going to get a lot of value. It's pretty similar to when you send a camp onto the solo lane. The added pressure that you have on that lane is going to put your opponent into a lot of trouble, where they have to either accept that they're going to lose the wall, or they have to fall back to deal with the problem.
Speaking of losing a wall, Trick Esport has set up on the bottom side to push in these giants and break down the wall of their opponents, but the playing Ducks catch them here and get a couple of aggressive fights as they'll be able to move back in. Wolfjo is even looking for stuns, but may have caught himself out of position. Chris is coming over to help, but it's too late, and Wolfjo will be dead there. Interesting, him chasing.
Yeah, and also now not only that kill against the Ducks, but Tricked is grabbing the first tribute as well. So they are starting to take a significant lead here, not only in the objective, but also a slightly faster level 7 talent. So a good start into the game for them. We have right now Li Ming with Calamity taken as the level 7 talent. It's cool to see that build right now because every single time I think about Li Ming these days, I'm thinking about Nurok's build and how he's currently trying to convert everybody to the auto-attack Li Ming build, where with his level 7 talent, where he completely goes away from Calamity and just tries to be in your face the entire time with a very aggressive Li Ming style. That seems to be the new school in Europe that some players are starting to pick up. Some others are very adamant about that being a very bad build. Alex here dropping the spray as he realizes that he's going to fall and he's reacting in kind. That's the problem when you're doing too much backdooring there. At some point your opponent is going to pick up on it, and in this case there were two heroes up at the top, so Alex gets actually caught out in the attempt to push the lanes back.
Yeah, this is the trade-off. If you do have the Zul getting picked up in the top left, but you're able to get your team to go to a different part of the map and find value, whether it be mercenary camps or in this case a fort, it can be worth the death in the early game, especially with small death timers here. So a fort gets picked up, and Trick Esport is actually on their way to level 9 as the second tribute of the game does spawn.
Yeah, the attempt of Alex here is definitely an interesting one. The question just really is how long can he keep on doing that. But they have the early level 9. They are very far ahead. And this is a tribute that's important for the Ducks because the next one is going to happen when Trick Esports is level 10. So the Ducks need to make sure that they get it.
They get it?
And they do, yeah.
Looking good here, so now they can just focus for the next couple minutes on working on level 10. Maybe go for a kill or two in the next 30 seconds, but if you can't find anything, back up, go to your lanes, work on the 10 themselves here, and they'll do just that. But Trick, with this nice little lead here, have a couple options too. They see Vala on the bottom side of the map, they can move in for a boss. They have a Greymane, and actually, if you look to the top right, Greymane, Rhaegar, and Li Ming are doing just that.
I mean, they need to do that. The boss play is, I feel, the absolute logical consequence out of what they've done so far. Since you will hit level 10, but you just gave up a tribute. So your level 10 fight is not going to give you a curse. That's not happening. So to get value out of it, you need to make some other move on the map. And the best thing you can do is take a boss at that time, because your opponent won't be able to contest you. So right now they are moving in, they get the boss, they have level 10, and now they can not only get the tribute, but theoretically they could even make a double boss play if they now can move down to the bottom. Because the boss moves through the top, and Tacita or someone else is going to have to react to it. And with you having level 10, they can take the second boss as well and can just force that fight. Since with one level away from level 10, there's no way that the Ducks can actually move in to fight it. That's just not happening.
Yeah, they're missing out on the power spike, and they can't really contest. Okay, looks like our pause was just slightly here for a couple of seconds. Let's go back into the match as we have that next tribute spawning on the bottom right side. We did have Vola and crew working on the boss on the bottom side for the playing Ducks, but they did back away as they saw a Nubrak starting to rotate in.
Yeah, and here's exactly what I just described. They take the tribute, but they also focus on the boss immediately. They know they can make that play quite easily since there's still half a level until the Ducks have 10, and they see Tacita at the top. That's the more important part. The vision of Tacita. Since Tacita cannot rotate down fast enough, so that means that even if the Ducks would want to fight, even if they hit level 10 and try to, Tacita's not here, so it's a 4 versus 5, and therefore they would win it. So 2 bosses are grabbed and the extra tribute, and that's all a result out of that early level lead that we saw from them.
Garrosh goes in for an engage. Trick Esport actually setting up a trap, going for a fight and look for Wolf Joe. Does not pan out the way they want to.
But it was close, because what happened is that Wave of Force was used by Li Ming, and the thought process was that Li Ming was trying to push Uther into the team, but it just barely missed and the range wasn't enough. So instead of pushing Uther into the team, they pushed Uther out, and that's how he survived.
Barely surviving there. The playing Ducks will be able to defend the boss, but you gotta love what Trick Esport try to pull off there. Do have Giants pushing in the top side that they will have to clear out, but the next tribute is going to be Curse and Trick Esport. Oh, great spawn for them. Are going to be in prime position to move in forward. Sonya already on her way from the bottom lane to help the team fight. Playing Ducks know they want to deny this.
Yeah, they have to. They have to make something happen right now. They didn't take down a fort yet, and so this is an important battle since it's still on even talents. Right now we have an opportunity for them. That's already the attempt to just dodge as much as they can. Good combo here with a stun and also the Li Ming comp coming in right after, but Nande is going to grab this one. Trick is willing to give this one up. They delayed a bit, grab experience, and now this was actually really smart that they don't fight over it, because as long as they don't die...
Middle lane, hang on. Zul gets picked, so it was smart to miss out, but they get caught anyways.
Doesn't really matter too much as long as they maintain the lead in experience to an extent, because what they are currently trying to do is to get level 13 when the third tribute hits. So the next tribute is going to decide Curse. If they are the ones that have the extra talent, they are going to be in a fantastic position to get the Curse and to snowball it. Dying in the team fight up at the top would have hurt them. This is the reason why the Ducks are currently so aggressive, since they are realizing they have to somehow get experience, and their best way to do that is by dropping a few structures. If they can somehow close that gap fast enough, they might be able to fight for the tribute and even talents. But as it just spawns, this is one of those moments where Trick is going to either grab it because the Ducks give it up, or they're going to delay it until they have 13 and then they take the fight.
Just dancing for a little bit, can put Zul to the top. They have the skillful mages up if they need to get to that 13. The poke comes out constantly from Crosby. Sport Billy trying to hold down the bush, looking for an angle. Can he find someone to grab? He will find Alex Proji on the right. Can he land the gauge? He does get the taunt right out. Big throw pops in, Rain of Vengeance also connecting.
Ancestral comes in, Garrosh goes down, but so does Greymane. Doesn't even use the cursed bullet. Skeleton mages are on the ground here as we have Eternal Chase down. He falls. And that is the second death on the side of the Ducks. Chris nearly falling as well as Rema Baller moves in. Eats a bit of damage, but Alex is ready and ready for a bone prison too. This is the end of Wolfjo. Uther locked down and dead. The curse has hit the playing Ducks as Trick Esports moves in.
This is terrifying. They have a giant push on the bottom side. It's going in with the curse popping up. They have 4 people on the top side looking for this keep wall to start moving in on. And they have the middle lane being pushed in by Zul so they can get that fort killed off by minions.
They didn't even wait for 13. I was actually really surprised that they did just just not stall it out. They had all the tools that they need, especially with the Li Ming poke. You can stall the tribute for just those few seconds that they need for 13. There was one more wave where they could have rotated. They were willing to take the fight regardless, since they said, we have the better position, we can take it. And now, as you said, there's just pressure everywhere. The fort in the mid lane is already down. There's a massive wave moving through. There's another 25 seconds. And on all single lanes, we're having pressure against the keep walls here against the Ducks.
So far, though, Trick Esport had to delay this push to make sure they get all 5 members of this top lane, which has allowed Tassadar and Sonya to soak the bottom and the middle, get closer to 13. They're still not quite there. Trick Esport finally getting into a spot where they can start sieging on this keep. But with only 5 more seconds left, playing the Ducks look like they defend all 3 keeps on the map, and they even get engaged upon as the Nubarak takes some damage to Sport Billy.
Trick should have forced the issue at the top lane way heavier. They saw Tassadar at the bot lane, they saw Sonya in the bottom, they have a talent lead, and they have a 5 versus 3 in that situation. I think they could have done more than they did. Skeleton Mages, again, it's great position for Trick to fight. They're going in again, but the Rain of Vengeance hits hard. The problem is that Vala is dead already. Divine Shield on Garrosh keeps him alive, but guess who's dead? It's Uther. He's down, the Lightbringer is gone, and now we're having Trick moving through the top lane, aiming for the first keep in the game. They are looking fantastic on this third map.
And the Archon will expire. They keep poking down the keep. Eternal getting webbed in that fight, preventing that from being a full 5-on-5. It was a 5v4 thanks to the Nubarak Rimmer with the great game sense, and the turnaround from Trick Esports earns them a couple kills and a 3-level lead as they hit 16 and get catapults pushing in the top.
And they can now easily make a boss play again. They can move to the top, and that means the boss will move straight for the core. So Trick can actually even decide to push with the boss if they go for it, since they have the level lead, or they can just simply say, let's let the boss push for the core. Playing Ducks will have to defend. We go for the second boss after that, which will guarantee us a second keep. They don't even go for it. They have the 16 talents, and they just let it slide for now.
They may want to play an aggressive play and go for the opponent's boss here. Try and get that keep killed lower, and then work on the next boss afterwards, and then move in for the core. It could be a double play.
I was just taking both anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, they were probably thinking that the Ducks might take the boss at the bot lane. They had some vision on heroes, but the Ducks played a bit around vision, so they didn't show all. So I think that Trick expected the boss to be currently taken by the Ducks down here, and that's why they were going bot to try and force a fight. This is going to be a keep. This might even be game. If they win a big team fight here, this could be the end of it. Remaball, on the other hand, if he dies, that's a game changer, and that happens. But Sport Billy also eliminated, and so is Uther. Triple kill as Vala dies. And with Eternal now being locked down, it looks very much like this is going to be potentially the end. A 4 versus 1 on the map. Only Tassadar is still alive. The keep, of course, is a goner. The question is, can they somehow hold on to the core? The death timers are low. They might be able to defend, but it's going to be...
It's going to be difficult. Nande pops the Archon to start it here.
Not likely.
10 seconds for everyone to pop up, and the Ducks, their core is already starting to get low. It drops down to 70%.
No way.
Vala's here in 4 seconds. Shield does come out. They're looking at Make. Make just shredding through this core with the boss being here. It's not going to be possible. Trick Esport will get back in this series here with their first victory, as they are now behind the Playing Ducks 2-1, but still in it.
Trick takes the game 2-1. And this is important, again, even if Trick doesn't win it here, as long as they take maps, that's super important. The interesting part, again, if we are talking about the two teams, just to give you a bit of perspective, is if it happens that at the end of the entire phase 2, like, if the Ducks win now, let's say Trick takes another game and the Ducks clutch out the series, the score doesn't matter, because in this case, we have the Ducks already winning in part 1 of phase 2 against Trick. If they now win again, the direct comparison, which is what we are looking for after we look at just the match score, is going to be a 2-0 in favor of the Ducks. So for Trick, yes, it matters how much they win, but it's really more important to get the entire series under their belt, because if they don't, then they can still end up in a situation where they are tied with the Ducks, and they would be the ones to drop into the Crucible. For that to happen, the Ducks, of course, still have to win against Fnatic, and most people don't really expect that. But we also didn't expect it in part 1 of phase 2, and it happened. The Ducks actually defeated Fnatic. We have seen crazy upsets here in Europe. So the Ducks are currently doing whatever they can to keep their hopes of not being Crucible alive. But as we heard from Wolf Joe, they more or less already accept that they will most likely be in the Crucible. They use this as an opportunity to just try out Sport Billy in their tank role and to practice for the Crucible, to get experience with that new setup. But to be honest with you, they look better than ever.
Part of me kind of wonders if that might be a superpower for them. Whenever they think they're out, they suddenly get much stronger. That's what happened against Fnatic the first time. Yesterday they were talking about, oh, we're going out in the Crucible, we're just going to play whatever and just get ready for the Crucible. And they've been looking dominant for the last couple of days. So maybe they got a little bit of confidence going into game number 3, and if they feel a little bit down, they can come in and be powerful once again.
I tell you, it's, again, the Fnatic syndrome. What happened when they faced off against MVP Black? No pressure, you just play the game. You do what you know, you do what you like, you have some fun, and all of a sudden you look much better. When the Ducks won against Fnatic, they told me later that it was basically the same thing for them. They went into the series saying, we don't stand a chance. Yeah. Fnatic hasn't lost anything. How on earth are we supposed to beat these guys? We haven't won a game in ages. Now we're going up against the one team that wins everything. We have no shot of taking this. So they said they didn't even specifically practice for Fnatic. They just had their usual scrims. They practiced their usual stuff, but they didn't really prepare for the team. Then in the series, they just did their thing, and all of a sudden they won. So that's exactly, if there's no pressure on you, teams tend to actually perform a lot better. It's one of the reasons why Team Liquid struggles. They themselves saying it over and over again. Yeah. More and more pressure on us, we are starting to doubt every decision that we make, and then we make mistakes.
It's amazing how mentality can really affect a team. How you approach the game, how you think you're doing in the game, things like that really do stack up. So try to keep those in check if you can. And of course, talk about it with your team members if you are building a team. Now, let's go ahead and look at the HGC Finals. Remember, in a couple of months, we will be getting set up for it. It's going to be great at BlizzCon. We already have some qualified teams going to the tournament. So let's go ahead and take a look at who has qualified so far. The Deadly Kittens from SEA has qualified once again for an international tournament. Always good to see those guys.
They also won the award for Best Logo.
Yes, I agree. I would wear a t-shirt with that logo. Soul Torturers here will be also getting in from the TW region, Taiwan, qualifying for the region. And then also, Fnatic has qualified here in Europe.
Soul Torturers is still a team that highly disappoints me. MVP Black also qualified, by the way. Fantastic record so far this season. They have dropped, I think, one single map. They are just stomping everyone with 3-0, but they have not played against L5 yet. But the thing is about the Soul Torturers, I think it's a huge opportunity, that like, a missed opportunity for sure. Their old name was Please Buff Arthurs, and they were running with that for a long time. What happened?
Arthurs got buffed.
Yeah, Arthurs got buffed. That is such a huge chance. I mean, you can go in there, please buff Nova, please buff Gazlo. It doesn't matter what you go for. There is a chance that Blizzard is going to hear your cries, and what do? They rename themselves into Soul Torturers.
They ruin the moment.
I'm sad. That could have been a meme for years. It could have been like, yep.
They're the team that Blizzard favors. Let's go ahead and go into game number 4. Get this Battleground movement in, as Strict Esports are hoping to tie up the series and go to a game 5. We'll be going to Infernal Shrines, and this is the Tricked Esports map. This is one they've been coming to more often as of late, and they love controlling it.
Tricked again with the map choice here, yes. So an opportunity for them to tie this series and force a 5th game. And yeah, let's see what the Ducks are going to do right